So one of the things we did with Cardano way back in the day is we started from Bitcoin as a base. We kind of ignored a lot of other stuff, and we said, well, what did Bitcoin get right, and what did Bitcoin get wrong? So Bitcoin got a beautiful consensus algorithm, proof of work, right. And we said, can we replicate those properties in the proof of stake world? We like that a lot. We like the inclusiveness, we like the 15% Byzantine resistance, we like the asynchrony, we like all these things. These are phenomenal properties. And that gave us a good engine that had Bitcoin-like properties, but lives in the proof of stake space with all the upside of proof of stake.
Just like other crypto projects creator and developers, Cardano's Charles Hoskinson takes a lot of pride in his work on the 8th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. In a recent interview, the co-founder of Input-Output Global and the Cardano blockchain platform talks about the strength of the Cardano blockchain platform and how it compares to other blockchain networks like Bitcoin and Ether. According to Hoskinson, the Cardano network tried to incorporate some of the mechanics of the Bitcoin network, but with a proof-of-stake consensus. Hoskinson explains that while building Cardano, the team took a critical look at the leading cryptocurrency network, evaluating its core strengths and weaknesses. He adds that building the network might have taken some time, but that patience is paying off greatly now. Last week, Input-Output Global and the Cardano Foundation completed the hard fork combinator to deploy the Vasil upgrade at the protocol level. The upgrade was designed to help improve Cardano's scalability and general transaction throughput capacity. It will also advance the ecosystem's decentralized applications development capacity. According to Rick McCracken, who runs the DigiStake pool on Cardano, there have been significant improvements since the hard fork. 3 days after the upgrade, McCracken tweeted about the improvement in block propagation times post-Vasil upgrade. He stated that block propagation times, the average time needed for a new block to reach the majority of nodes in a network, has dropped from 1,600 milliseconds recorded before the hard fork to 300 milliseconds. Diffusion pipelining, a part of the Vasil release, is an improvement to the consensus layer. It allows for faster block propagation and better network synchronization, which is now around 99% for Cardano, an attribute of a high-performance network. To achieve faster propagation times, diffusion pipelining propagates blocks before they are fully validated, essentially overlapping the time spent on validation and diffusion. In his interview, Hoskinson describes the hard fork as a historic feat, one of many more to come. We will now take you to Hoskinson's interview. But before we do, please take a little time to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Also, ensure you drop your comments and observations about the video in the comments section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
First off, people have to understand that layer ones, if you're not careful, and dApps as well, are unstable elements. Like Luna is a great example of that. If you have poor design, you can collapse overnight if you run into a certain failure event. And if you look at poor design for consensus, like you look at Ethereum's consensus algorithm, you run into a scenario where 40% of the block producers are just 2 people, and then your money's locked for an indefinite period of time. You have no liquidity. So you might have achieved security and perhaps allowed you to pursue a roadmap, but then people from a usability perspective say, well, hang on a second here, this is not what I signed up for. So one of the things we did with Cardano way back in the day is we started from Bitcoin as a base. So we have to mathematically describe them. So we wrote a paper. It's one of the most cited papers in the entire cryptography industry for cryptocurrency, over 3,000 citations, the GKL paper. And it basically created a security model for Bitcoin. Then from that, we had a basis upon which to build a proof-of-stake algorithm. And we wrote more than a dozen papers now with Ouroboros, and they're among the most cited of all papers in cryptocurrencies. And that gave us a good engine that had Bitcoin-like properties, but lives in the proof-of-stake space with all the upside of proof-of-stake. And we said, well, look, if we can just get that right, then that alone is something that's worth a lot to people, because Bitcoin's worth a lot to people, and people are eventually going to want something like this. But then we wanted to go a step further and say, well, what else did Bitcoin get right? The UTXO model was very prescient. What Satoshi came up with was this beautiful functional structure that eventually would allow you to do lots of cool things off-chain. And if you look at where the entire industry is going, you got these guys, data availability proofs, ZK rollups, state channels, this, that, yeah. They're really talking about, we have something happening outside of our system that we will take a proof to validate inside of our system, and by doing this, we get interoperability and scale. That's how it should work. Well, if you're in an accounts-based model, it's really hard to do that. And everybody's starting to learn about this. Whereas in a UTXO model, it's actually a lot easier to do that. The problem with it is that UTXO was never built for smart contracts. They tried. It was horrible. They had an inflation bug that nearly killed Bitcoin, so they decided to run away from that. So we spent 4 years thinking about how do you do it. We built the extended UTXO model, and we designed it. So every step of the way with Cardano, we just basically said we're going to start from something that makes sense. We're going to write papers. We're going to validate those papers in the academic community. There's now over 150 of them that we've written as an ecosystem by top professors. We have a lab at Stanford. We have a lab at CMU. We have people in Europe, at Edinburgh, people in Japan at Tokyo Institute of Tech. And then through an evidence-based way, we're going to roll it out. And so it's built this great community that basically says, look, these guys eventually will get there. They're eventually going to figure it out. And wherever they get to, it's probably going to be something that works and it's global scale. And there's a humongous appetite in our industry for that, especially during bear markets. You don't capture anything during the bull market, but during the bear market, everybody's collapsing. All the bridges are getting hacked. All these DeFi Ponzi schemes fall apart that we keep saying are problems. So that's the community we've built and the ecosystem we've built. Now we are enjoying the dividends of that approach. We're doing a hard fork today. I'm not sweating because we built an incredible upgrade system called the Hard Fork Combinator. And in just about 3 hours, it's out. I don't worry that it's going to be problematic and the network's going to break. We're literally updating a $15 billion asset with 3 million person community on 200 plus exchanges. And it's just an event for us, like many others. Because we thought, how do you upgrade these things? For the consensus algorithm, they talk like, how do you scale Ethereum? Well, we already wrote all the papers on how to scale Ouroboros, so we know how to do it. It's just implement it. It might take a year, it might take 2 years as an inevitability, though, and it's there when you need it. For the transaction models, people talk about TPS. With extended UTXO, you have transactions per transaction. One transaction could be hundreds of transactions in an accounts-based model. And that's great for roll-ups. That's great for accumulators. That's great for off-chain traffic and so forth. So, you know, that's always been the philosophy. Maybe that's not your cup of tea. That's fine. It's a big industry. But you have to acknowledge that more than half of the value of this industry does believe in that because they hold Bitcoin and they believe in those slow, methodical principles.
In his interview, Hoskinson speaks further about the Cardano network and what it has above other blockchain networks. According to the American entrepreneur, the Cardano network has been built to appeal to everyday investors as well as Fortune 500 companies, governments, regulators, and other actors capable of driving mass adoption into the crypto space. He also explains that the brand's carefully built design ensures that investors, developers, and other participants remain community members for life as soon as they understand its mechanics.
The other thing is Fortune 500 companies, governments, real actors that are in charge of millions to billions of people. They care about standards, they care about safety, they care about reliability, they care about consistency, they care about interoperability, they care about good governance. You get one of these clients on board, you have 3 billion users. Meanwhile, 98% of the people in the world don't use cryptocurrency for anything other than speculation. So we have yet to see mass adoption. We have yet to see mass embracing. In fact, regulation's moving in a direction that we were now talking about things like, well, how do you do regulated DeFi? How do you do certified wallets or KYC AML on transactions? These types of things. That's where the V-Right standards are coming from and these other things. We kind of pre-built everything in that particular direction, that things work well in a standards-based approach. We're one of the most decentralized of all cryptocurrencies. 74% of the supply is staked and liquid at the same time, over 3,000 stake pool operators. And the way the system is built, 10 years from now, it'll be probably an order of magnitude greater, so it gets more decentralized over time. So when you look at it in the micro, there's nothing for the speculators because it's not sexy. But when you look at it over the macro trend, once you gain a user, they tend to stay. They tend to be loyal to the brand. They tend to want to build something inside the brand. You know, I don't care if it's 10 or 15 or 20. What I care about is what is that metric of growth? Where is it going to be in 3 years or 5 years? And when I look at everything from the amount of users on chain to the amount of delegated stake to the amount of transactions, which you guys record on your own framework, the amount of value being moved, everything actually is growing on Cardano at a pretty nice rate. Meanwhile, we keep what we have. People don't leave if they've tattooed the logo on their body and named their kid ADA and these types of things. They're just not going to leave. So you keep what you have, you keep growing, and you keep getting more capabilities, and every time you do it, you leave no one behind because you have backwards compatibility with what they've built in the past, which was Satoshi's point. If you're going, everything in Bitcoin works the same way as it worked January 3rd of 2009. Similarly, everything on Cardano works exactly the same way for a user who did something in 2017. But there's just new stuff for new users to use if they choose to do that. Going to be closed off. So the only ecosystems that are going to survive are the ones that value hard work, and the ones that actually take time to construct things and build communities and create real value and so forth. Like what World Mobile's doing, for example, and what a lot of the other people in the Cardano ecosystem are doing, but not just exclusively Cardano. There's plenty of projects in the crypto space that have taken this viewpoint as well. And those are the ones I think will be here in 10 years and still in the top 10 in the 10 years, like Bitcoin. And frankly, Ethereum as well. Ethereum was funded for 18 million. That whole ecosystem. It's easy to forget that.
Cardano remains one of the most popular and fastest growing blockchain platforms, and the team has been making a lot of big moves in recent months. This week alone, at least 2 cryptocurrency exchanges have announced adding trading support for the platform's native token. Earlier in the week, Switzerland-based crypto asset management service Swissborg said it was listing the native token. This has been followed by a similar announcement from Bitbank, a Tokyo-based crypto trading platform. According to recent reports from CoinDesk, Cardano development lab Emergo is also going to invest over $200 million to support the platform's growth. The money will be dispersed within the next 3 years, with around half earmarked for investments in Africa. According to Emergo, the money will go to projects directly building atop Cardano and those from other networks that integrate Cardano's network alongside theirs. What are your thoughts on the recent developments in the Cardano ecosystem and on Charles Hoskinson's interview? Please leave your comments and observations in the comments section. Also, ensure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.